manager updates. 'Cause I've been, so I was concentrating on this wastewater, so I didn't put it in. So. So Mac, you're not going to, can't go. Yeah, I'll text you tomorrow, see what time to leave. Erin from the base said she wanted to go as well, so I think, yeah. Oh, she can? Okay. Yeah, because we got the ESYMCA tomorrow. Yep. Yeah, saying it's 11:30. Yep.
First, I call this meeting to order at 6 p.m. Please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you would like, please remain standing for the invocation.
Let's pray. Lord, we ask for your blessings on this meeting tonight. We're seeking your presence and guidance as our city officials come together to serve our community. Please give them wisdom, strength, and courage as they make decisions on behalf of all residents. Fill their hearts with compassion and understanding. May they lead with integrity, humility, and a genuine desire to serve. We pray for unity for our city council members as they build bridges of understanding and work together for the common good. May this city hall be a place that fosters collaboration, respect, and open dialogue where the voices of all are heard and valued. Bless them as they carry out their roles, and may their efforts contribute to the betterment of our community. Lord, we ask you for your protection over our city, its residents, and those who serve to protect. We give thanks for the opportunity to come together in this space, and may the actions and decisions of these leaders reflect your love, grace, and may our city be a beacon of hope, justice, and compassion to all. In your holy name we pray. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you. That was Reverend Amy Miranda, First Assembly of God Church.
All right, hi, my name is Elizabeth Marshall. I'm the City Council representative for 29 Palms High School. I'm also the ASB Vice President and Captain of the cross country team and girls track and field team. This is just for a general report of what's happening at the school, sports stats, and any other news. Football is currently 1-1 in league with a home game against Desert Mirage on Friday. The theme is Guard the Yard. It's also our homecoming game. And homecoming is this weekend. Princes and princesses will be announced at Friday's sports assembly and will walk the field at the game. Volleyball is currently 6-2 in league, doing very well as always. Tennis is 1-1, working very hard. The team is growing this year. Cross country has had the largest team in the last 3 years and went to the first league meet and performed very well. This is the first time in over 4 years where we've had both a boys team and a girls team. Any other news? We have lots of club participation this year, lots of new clubs, students getting involved in clubs. Incoming freshmen are very excited to participate in the school. We have a new ASB advisor. She's coming in with lots of great new ideas and new events, so watch out for those. This last Friday, unfortunately, we had to have a lockdown, and we're all very grateful that everything turned out okay, nothing went wrong, and all problems were unfounded. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Roll call.
Councilmember Scott,
Here.
Councilmember Mintz,
Here.
Councilmember Klink,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Buildering,
Here.
Mayor Wright.
Here.
All present.
No closed session announcements. Any changes to the agenda? No. Announcements. These proceedings may be viewed on demand on the City of 29 Palms website at www.29palms.org. You may also live stream this meeting by going on our website and clicking on the meeting agendas link. Awards, presentations, appointments, and proclamations. We have none. City Council comments and reports of meetings attended. Councilmember Scott.
Yep, I attended my regular East Valley Regional Steering Committee meeting, and the town manager of Yucca Valley, Curtis Yakimow, has assumed the role of chair of the committee. I also met with Boy Scout for a tour of City Hall and an interview for his Eagle Scout. He needed to speak with an elected official, and that's all.
Councilmember Mintz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yesterday, we had the MDAQMD meeting in Victorville, bunch of routine stuff. The last 3 meetings, basically what we've been doing is having to clean up EPA things that we're not sure what they're doing in Washington. They either don't read what they read what they want and then send it out saying it's not right, and then we fix it and they say, well, you should have left it the same way. So that's all I'm going to say about that. And then we attended the League of Cities Conference last week. We started out with the Inland Empire Desert Mountain Division lunch. Our keynote speaker was actually the Secretary of California. She gave a very nice talk about finances in California, and she gave everybody her cell number. So I guess she doesn't mind people using her cell number. We went to the open session, and it was with keynote speaker. It was Matt Lehrman. It was conflict to conversation. And I guess everyone should think that all these topics were put in about 6 months ago. All the councilmen and other folks in the League of Cities will send them into the conference folks, and then they start picking subjects to do. And that one happened to be one, and he spoke on that. And then we went to the homeless to housed, and how cities can create leverage with strong partnerships. There was a few businesses there that talk about smaller modular housing, and how the one, I had my notes, but one city, they move them around. They pick them up and they move them to the next neighborhood so people don't get mad because the homeless are in their neighborhood. So that's one of their solutions. The mayor said what? It was basically a social media seminar. I didn't go to that one because the mayor went to that one. Then we had another general session. The keynote speaker was Brandon Fleming. He wrote the book Miseducated. He went from basically selling drugs at 12 to be a Harvard professor. And then he got challenged at Harvard that he said he could get inner city students to come to Harvard and win the debate, the high school kids. And he won it the first year. Second year, he won it again. They challenged him again. Then the third year, his team won again, went undefeated through the entire contest, and they're on a 6-year streak right now. And he's based out of Atlanta, so that was a really inspirational talk on him. Then we went to What the Bleep, limits on public comments. Again, this stuff is sent to them, and they think of the names. I just go to the places, and we all did. So then we went to how to solve big city problems in small towns. They had a few different topics. They really didn't hit any meat and potatoes of it, though. They really didn't say, well, here's the solutions, but I guess you just go away with that. And then I went to managing difficult conversation with constituents, and it was a lady she's a volunteer from Brave Angels is what it's called, is her organization. And she just goes around and speaking to different groups and corporations just to spur on conversations when maybe it's not a good topic. So, and that's about it. We did a lot of stuff. So,
Mr. Klink.
Thank you, Mayor. like Danny said, I attended that conference with him, and I took a picture of this comment that our first keynote speaker talked on, and he says the purpose of local government is to enable individuals to join together, with that circled, in recognizing and solving community problems. And I really hope and true that that's the way we're going to be going from now on. Not just city council up here, but everybody getting together and recognizing and solving our community problems. So that's what I got out of that the most. And I had no meetings because my meetings were at the beginning of the month and we already had them.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I have nothing to pass, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Like I said, I went to the conference as well. It was very good. Got a lot out of it. The mayor said what was not what I was expecting, because it was talking totally about social media, and I don't do social media, so, but that's it. All right. Consent calendar. All matters listed on the consent calendar are to be considered routine by the city council and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed. Any item may be removed from the consent calendar and considered separately by the city council. The public will be given an opportunity to comment on consent calendar items prior to the city council action. Anybody want to pull any consent calendar items? Anybody from the public wants to comment on consent calendar items? Bring it back. Looking for a motion.
I'll move the consent calendar.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Klink,
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Councilmember Scott,
Aye.
Councilmember Mintz,
All right.
Mayor Pro Tem Buildering,
Aye.
Mayor Wright.
Aye.
Approved 5-0.
Okay. Public hearing, none. Discussion and potential action items. Wastewater treatment plant location, future agenda item requests.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. As mentioned by the mayor, this is a future agenda item request, so staff is looking for direction. So just by way of a little bit of background, wastewater generated in 29 Palms is currently treated in septic tanks or leach fields and is discharged into the ground. The exceptions to this are the main side of the base and some new subdivisions and businesses around the city. I think there's about 6 package treatment plants around the city. The city is concentrated around commercial areas, which run along State Route 62, also known as 29 Palms Highway, and Adobe Road, which runs to the military base. These areas contain majority of multifamily and relatively dense single-family land uses. Less dense single-family and rural living is located in the majority of the remainder of the city. And as population continues to grow and more lands are urbanized, water usage and therefore septic loading within the district service is anticipated to increase. This is one paragraph from the Salt and Nutrient Management Plan. And that last sentence, just wanted to kind of explain a little bit more, because we talk about this a lot, which is septic loading, right? Septic loading, right? You'll hear this a lot, septic loading. And what that means basically is, think of each and every one of our houses. We have, our septic tanks is discharging into a leach field, most likely, or some other mechanisms to dispose from the septic tank. And then the earth then is that filter. That earth is that filter that travels down, through the natural process very slowly and denitrifies that discharge and ultimately hits our water supply. And, the septic loading, when you keep hearing that statement, it's in relationship to our growth, right? The more septic tanks, meaning the more septic tanks that are there, the more loading, higher concentration of leach fields, and that discharge then, because of loading, heavier, will go faster, right? And so that is what the challenge is to prevent, ultimately, of why you do a wastewater treatment facility. USGS, although they have not started yet, we have a cooperative agreement with them. We're still waiting for the state to fund it to start it. But that is part of what they will analyze, is that septic loading based on growth, and they will take growth into consideration. How long ultimately will those septic tanks, that discharge, hit our groundwater to create water quality issues? Is it 2 years? Is it 10 years? Is it 20 years? Is it 30 years? Right? That's what that analysis will determine. This is, let me shrink it up a bit so you can see it a little better. So this is the that phasing map that we have for the project. So just to explain the phasing map, we had 2 iterations of it, and I'll talk about our team that we have a little later, but we have in the audience Vicki Bridenstine from NV5 that is our engineer, our collection system engineer on this project. And they first looked at, I think I've got it up here somewhere, Noel. This location, one of these 10-acre parcels here, this was the original location that we had for the treatment plant. And again, this is an engineering exercise. We tasked our engineers with, what is the best location to have our topography work for us. We don't want our topography to work against us. What was our best location? And ultimately, not ultimately, but initially, this was the first location. It may have been, was that the middle parcel maybe? It's one of those 3.
It was
yeah.
the second from the left.
Second from the left, so this one here. And we, had collaborations because we wanted to make sure we collaborated with our water district, our partners in this. And some of the challenges that we discovered in collaboration, not only internally but externally, was a couple things. I don't have the flood layer here, but the flood layer, it's within a floodplain. And, that was one challenge that was there. Because if you could visualize on Amboy Road, the fluoride removal plan, how high that is built up, right? Just like your house, if you build in a floodplain, you got to lift it up. That was one of the challenges we saw there as from a development cost thing. The other 2 were, from a water management perspective, wanted to be able to centralize the treatment plant. So when we treat the water, we can replenish our aquifers. Right now, today, every septic tank is discharging into the groundwater, as we talked about before, and that, in a sense, in some cases, is replenishing, not fully, but replenishing our groundwater. And so we wanted to have it centralized to replicate that, right? So have, a central location, but pipes that were going to the 4 aquifers to be able to replenish those aquifers like the septic tanks were today. The other challenge that was there was the 2 production wells, the main production wells of the water district. They call them, I don't know if Matt's here, but TP1 and TP2 come out of this area. And the feeling was it was maybe just a little too close, to, their production wells with discharge. So which then was born the current phasing map, which lives here today. So that's a little history there. As mentioned before, there's 6 package treatment plants around the city. This project is a forward-thinking, a sustainability-driven project, not a result of any water quality issues. This one needs to adjust a bit. The impetus of that was there was money here and now. $350 million, which has been since cut by the state, now only $200 million. And I know I've been communicating with this, with the council, and I still don't have confirmation that we, official confirmation that we got the money, but the unofficial is that we did get the $50 million and Yucca Valley got $86 million. But that's not official, that's the unofficial distribution at this point. And in this initial phase, I know Vicki, you and I were talking earlier, I had my PowerPoint here, 35% and 41%. It's in that range, that first phase of our city usage is what it's treating. The team, we put together a team because I always affectionately say I'm a dumb accountant, right? This is highly technical and, that's why we hire the smart engineers to kind of figure out, because it's an engineering exercise. But we do have city and wastewater or water district staff as oversight and direction. Carollo Engineering is our owner's representative, which means, we don't have staff members that, sit on our side of the table, if you will, and fight for our best interest. We have to hire that. So they served as that owner's representative, and they were the wastewater designers. NV5, as I introduced a little bit ago, Vicki Bridenstine, they're the collection system designers. Terra Nova, they do the environmental. Will Dan doing the financial, and CV Strategies doing some outreach. This is the money that we have accumulated in grant funding, about $5.5 million. We've got about $2 million remaining for planning, not for construction. This is all planning dollars. So we have about $2 million for planning. And you can see these STAG dollars. These are Obernolte earmarks. We've been successful the last 2 years in Obernolte earmarks of 600,000, 1.2. We also have this year, if they ever get a budget, the federal government, that is, we have $2 million floating through right now. So it's been, Obernolte has proposed it. Both of our senators have endorsed it, our federal senators. So and it's $2 million. So we'll see if that ultimately makes it through the finish line, but that's moving through there. When we looked at the cost of the project, we had some, engineering analysis of, the linear feet of pipe and, wastewater project cost, plant cost, and in total, and that was the entire phase 1 area, was $158.5 million, $158.5 million. And that includes, I just want to be clear here, includes the lateral connections. And what that is, typically, with any municipal project, you end at the curb line, right? And it's the owner's responsibility to take it from the curb line to your plumbing. This was just very unusual and unique funding sources, which allowed us to pay for that private connection as well. And I think in the analysis, about $12,000 per connection, plus or minus. It all depends on what you have in your front. If you have a septic tank in your front yard, no landscaping really, no concrete, nothing to tear up, right? It's easy, it'll be cheaper, right? But if you got lots of landscaping, lots of concrete, and they've got a trench through it, that is where the cost kind of increases. This is all just, let me kind of, go to the end here. Why are we doing the project? The USGS study, will begin, and we were hoping in 2023, which is this year, and it'll give us those specificity on how nitrates are traveling, right? So we'll know that. That's why we're doing the project, because we know it's traveling. It's not a question of if, it's only a question of when. The sewers are tried and true. I mean, this is not new technology. This all the way around the country, this technology and sewers date back, quite frankly, to the Romans. So this is tried and true technology. And, we're suggesting a proactive approach to groundwater, to protect the groundwater. Why not to do, why should we do the project? The money is here and now. And there was some public polling we did, recently, Probowski, and 90% of the people that were polled said, we need infrastructure, right? And it dropped a bit, when we said, how about sewers? It dropped to like 77%. Then the next question we asked, how about paying for it? And it went, ooh, it kind of fell down to like 30%, right? Which is pretty natural. Then, why not to do the project? There's no current water quality issues. We could limit growth and density, which would probably prolong the need for, for a treatment facility. So that is, an option that's out there. The USGS study is at least 5 years out. It may show nitrates are not traveling very fast. And right now we're not doing any monitoring or analysis, to determine that we need it. And some cannot afford it, and there's, maybe some little public support, right? So those are some of the pros and the cons that are out there. So to get to, and I wanted to give that background kind of leading up to it. So kind of get to the heart of the matter tonight. which was the location of the plant. And again, Ms. Bridenstine is here. This is a piping-related question, so that's why I've asked NV5 to be here this evening. So right now, as proposed anyway, is this parcel right here, okay? We had a discussion within the Wastewater Committee about these two 30-acre parcels. And I know ultimately the request on this agenda item was, I think, in the industrial zone. So that's what we're here this evening to discuss. Just from a pure engineering perspective of it, the further that you go away, the more added cost to the project that it would be. What the engineering team did from an analysis perspective is to deliver the most efficient, project that was there. The question is, can they put it anywhere? Absolutely, they can put it anywhere. It'll just create cost and operational, capital costs and operational related costs and challenges. But staff is here this evening to answer any questions along with a consultant that you may have about any of the locations or any of the scenarios.
Okay, anybody got questions for staff? Open up to the public. Got any green slips? No, I don't need it. Hold on, do a start, because I gotta go back. Go back. You got PowerPoint too?
Yep. All right. Good evening, Councilman, Mayor. Frank, thank you for putting that on the agenda. But I ask, why are you so afraid of this study? First, I want to remind you that I'm speaking on behalf of a working class neighborhood with jobs, families, and lives. Just as you represent the thousands of people in your individual districts, I'm here representing the thousands of people across our city that think the current SER plan, including the proposed location of the plant, is a bad idea. You've seen them, you know they exist, so don't make the mistake of thinking that because I'm the only one standing here right now and the only one that shows up that nobody else cares about this anymore. I would like to remind you that it is only a motion to study what it would take to move the plant so that the citizens of your city can make an informed decision, so that you can make an informed decision. I keep hearing this talked about like a zero-sum choice, like it will cost X amount of dollars to move it. What you need to consider is how much it will cost the city to keep it where it is. Frankly, I think the city should want to study that as well. Part of the study should look at what impact it will have on our neighborhoods. How much will our property values rise or fall? This is information we should know. If you find out they'll fall by $20 million, maybe it's cheaper to move the sewer. If you find out they will rise, that would go a long ways towards making these neighborhoods cool with you building a sewer, don't you think? You could do this study, find out it would cost $50 million to move it, but our property values would rise if it was across the street from us, and you would stop the sewer in its tracks. Aside from anything else, do it for the optics. People are angry about this issue. It's to your benefit to at least give the appearance of doing due diligence for the citizens of your city, even if we are not directly your constituents. The location of this plant needs to have, I can't remember what I'm writing. The location of this plant needs to have more care than just placing a card table at Thanksgiving. Just let us know that you care enough about us to do this one small thing for us. This vote is not on whether to move the sewer, it's to let us know that you care. You have some money in your bank, I just heard. Please put it to good use. And the last thing I have to say is, Frank, it is new technology. It's not proven technology. The BDP system, which is the discount sewer that we can afford now that we're only getting $50 million, the oldest one is 10 years old. There's only 63 in the world, and most of those are in China. So it is brand new technology, practically. And these things need to be considered. You need to study this a little bit more, give it a little bit more consideration, and that's all we want is a study. We're not asking, well, I am asking you to move it, but just study what it would take. It might be some incredible number that we're like, okay, put it right across the street. That's better. It might. We'd really like to know if our prices would rise or not.
Thank you. No more? Yes, ma'am.
I would like to know what you're gonna do with the wastewater.
That's what we're discussing.
I know, but is it gonna be like at the base where they turn it into drinking water?
Yes, so, excuse me, so, basically what ends up happening is it recharges our aquifers.
Let's see, because the smell and everything, they have one down in Riverside on Van Buren, and I tell you, that thing really stinks. Like
Yep.
Bandini.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. All right, no more green slips. Bring it back to council for further discussion.
You know, I'm really concerned about the project even being feasible at this point with the limited amount of funds that we have moving forward. But until we can actually get some hard numbers on what that looks like, I think we should try to make a motion to have a study done for the have a study done to see if we can get a mile away from houses and what that cost would be to the project.
Anybody else?
The, I guess, you're talking about moving it further this way towards Utah Trail. And, yeah, we're the other side.
Yeah.
Because this is a flood zone.
Yeah, the flood zone, let me see if, Keith, you may have to help me here, the flood zone here. Should be just here somewhere, right? Flood zone, flood hazards? Just click on it. Okay, here you go. Yeah, so there's that helps a bit. So here's Utah Trail right here, right? And so, yeah, that's all in the flood. So there's that 30-acre parcel. I mean, you know, ideally speaking, again, just from a purely engineering and cost perspective, to move it on that 30-acre parcel out of the flood area. And that's purely, again, from an engineering and cost perspective.
Okay.
So I actually like the idea he said, because we may find that it actually gonna raise property value. So why can't we do a study to see, you know, if we left it where it is or if we moved it?
So from a value perspective, and this is one of the things we struggled in Yucca Valley with, and I could talk to Patrick on it, we didn't want to be, we believed internally, right, that it does raise property values. But we didn't want to speculate, you know, because you say it raise values and it doesn't raise, then ultimately,
Right.
you know. So we, when we went through the process in Yucca Valley, we stayed away from that value. I'd have to talk to Patrick to see if he felt comfortable enough to do that, but I could ask him and report back to the council on that.
All right.
Many of many of the concerns though go past just property values. Most of the concerns that I've heard from my constituents are regarding health issues, and so I'm pushing more for a study to see if we can get a mile away from housing and residential housing, and how much that would cost us more, and putting it in the hands of the engineers and the experts to find that location.
Well, then, are you talking about just the mile, or are you talking about also just moving it to the east of the current one, studying both spots?
So, yeah, if you move it east, it's no longer 800 feet from this neighborhood to the left, but now it becomes 800 feet from military housing.
Well, I think it's further away than that, isn't it?
Yeah, and I apologize, and if I may, sorry. One of the things I asked Keith to put this together just to give perspective of distances. So let me go to the top here. So the current location from, I think this is so the current location is about 700 feet. You know, so that's the current location from housing. I think what Keith then ended up looking as just going to give perspectives of this. If you take the center point to the closest, so we were doing property lines. So now if you do housing, actual housing, because there's setbacks, you're not right on your property line. it's about 850 feet, okay? If you go to that parcel that is there, right, and, he again looked at that center line perspective, it's closer now to 801. It's about 800 feet and about 2,000 feet, from, the closest, I think it's a property line. Did you do property line there? Yeah, property line. Then we go to that parcel that's across from Utah, and now it's obviously different dynamics because now you got a house closer to here anyway. But 900 feet to 2,000, but yeah, so you're just getting close. It depends on the quantity of housing, really, because I think he measured for, I don't know if this is one house here, but nonetheless, it gets closer to that one house. So.
And that's the one that we would probably have to build up with sand or berm to
Correct.
get it
Yeah.
out of the flood zone.
Yeah, because it's in that flood zone as that map kind of showed, and that that will increase the development cost of it. Because again, think of the water treatment facility and how that was built up.
Yeah, when we spoke to some of the people who build sewers, they were building some of it underground so that there wouldn't be even seen. And if we did it in that flood zone, we wouldn't even be able to do anything underground. It all had to be above ground.
And let me kind of reference the comment made earlier. We haven't picked any technology yet, right? So there was a company, BDP or whatever. They've been sniffing around this project, right? And they did a presentation to the Wastewater Committee. But we haven't picked any technology that is out there yet. But there's a lot of folks who have different types of products that they do sell, and so we haven't picked anything specific at this point.
Yeah, so for me, that's that's just more concerning as to, are we even ready to do this in this city? A lot of my constituents, they think that their septics are fine right now, and they're fine with pumping their septics every 5 years, and the working class in the city, that extra $60, $100, maybe $200 a month, that's a lot. Many people right now are having a difficult time just maintaining their power bill, to be honest, let alone adding another sewer cost. So, I think eventually the city needs a sewer plant. I think we really need to do the USGS study first. And I think we really need to be mindful about where we put that plant, at least half a mile to a mile away from houses if possible. I mean, I think it's possible, but we have to put that in the hands of the engineers to be able to find that location.
And I knew I forgot to get this before the meeting, and I apologize. I asked Ms. Bridenstine to kind of give me some high-level numbers of just moving it just to 2 locations, just to give you a perspective of it. So to move it to out of the flood channel here, it's about $500,000, I think. Then to move it into the flood channel again, you got to build flood plain. You got to build it up, and that's about almost $1.7 million. So just to give you a perspective.
Yeah. So you need density, right? You need to have that critical mass to keep the rates low.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard so many times that the reason why we're on this 5-phase plan, starting with the downtown area, is because it's the most densely populated part in the city. And that's just not true. The plan should have actually started further west towards the ABCs, in those neighborhoods. Those are the most densely part of the city, and there actually is more space to be a mile away from housing in that location.
Well, this location is going to service the whole city eventually, right? I mean, you would be able, if we did it over there, you'd be the topography
Yes.
alone.
So
I mean, you could start on the left side of town, on the right side of town. Eventually, you're going to meet in the middle. Right now, we're starting on the east side of town, which is not the most densely part of town. The most densely part of town is towards the west.
And I go to my initial comments earlier. Again, you could put it anywhere, and the engineers, can figure that out. It's all a matter of cost. So one of the things that they try to do is, have our topography work for us. The least amount of, mechanical mechanical breaks, right, and mechanical takes power. So you try to minimize that. So that was the thought process of where and why, you know, it was laid out. But ultimately, again, can you put it somewhere else opposite of that? The answer is yes. It's just not as efficient.
Well, I guess, you know, saying that the ABCs has got the most density, those are all single-family homes. Down in the city, in the downtown area, there's a lot more multi-family units there. So there's more people, more sewage. So I'm okay with us at least studying to see give us some cost factors on all this, if that's what this agenda item is for.
Yeah, I just want to add on that just real quick, though. I mean, the notion that a single-family home has less people, that's not necessarily true. When you have a single-family home, you probably have a large family in that house. Those are people. When you have multifamily, a lot of times those are single individuals.
So when we actually get a letter from the state that says we have 50 million for a suit, do we have to roll on that fast, or will this study that I'm in favor of too, would this make it to where they'll say no on that free money?
Well, so it depends on, you know, so it's a mile. Is that what is that what the proposal is? You know, because I think we're getting close. You know.
Well, can we do both? Because
What's both?
Just moving it to the west east a little bit, and then obviously the other one would be moving it the mile.
Yeah, the question then becomes from housing, right? Because there's like onesie twosie stuff around, right? Do you still count that? You know, because you could see here from this aerial, right? You know.
Is that an actual house though? Like,
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
because it could be like
Yeah.
a cabin or something that nobody's in. So
So it's okay to, you know, have it, you know, so as long as it's a mile away from density? Is that?
I mean, half a mile.
Yeah, I think we want to be far from density, but I also think that we need to be very empathetic to those single-family homes out there as well. And you know, we need to reach out to those families, those homes, and we're not just going to put anything in anybody's backyard without letting them know and getting their consent, in my opinion.
Well, no, I'm saying check it, because a lot of times things like that are not actually single-family homes. They're just structures. That's what I mean.
Yeah, so just to give a perspective, so there's a lot of moving parts, right? So one of the things that, you know, again, we haven't got the letter yet. The state, you know, said 2024 started, complete by 2026. They're just as slow as anybody else, right? So I think there's definitely an ability to request an extension. And quite frankly, I think that would be even granted given their delay in this. You know, so I just want to be crystal clear in it, because so Vicki, Ms. Bridenstine did have that analysis of just moving it a little bit so we can, you know, extrapolate that a little further. It'll be more pipe, right? So, you know, that would be $3 million, let's say, because I think that, and I'm just using very hypothetical numbers here, right? So we can say that it would be 1.6 for 1.7, I think, in that parcel to the east, or to the east of Utah. Then we'll find out that location. Then you know, maybe it's $3 million. So we can bring that back to you, and then, you know, at that point, if that is what you desire, then we can start kind of moving forward with it. If that is the direction of the council.
Vicki, is it best to put that next to the highway? Because I see a piece of property there that might be just perfect.
On the highway?
Yeah, if Frank can make his bigger. It looks like 29 Palms Highway and, oh, you was all right there. Back up. Just that
Back
one.
this way?
Yeah.
The problem is you start going uphill. Once you get on the other side of that flood zone, that's the flood zone because that's the low point. So you start going
Uphill.
and then you're gonna have to pump sewage uphill all for the whole city, because that's where your treatment plant is. And there's a lot of costs, you know, you're gonna be pumping 24/7. So that's why we try to keep it in a lower portion so that the main part can gravity feed, so you don't have the pumping costs.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And it's possible though, and that you're going to have that cost. But you know, Yucca Valley's, I think they have 2 pumps to their treatment plant, and so if
But it's not the whole city, it's just localized areas. The majority of the city gravity
Yeah,
feeds.
if you could, so we can record it, yeah, please.
Yeah, Yucca Valley has, I think, a total of 3 pumps, but they're small, localized pumps for just certain neighborhoods. The majority of the city drains by gravity to the treatment plant. So the problem here is we would be forever pumping the whole city rather than just isolated neighborhoods.
yeah, I've been to the plant, and it's elevated. I don't know if I see it's growing downhill. You're just looking at it, it's elevated.
But the majority of the city drains by gravity to that point. Sky Harbor, what's the community to the west of there?
Western Hills Ranchos, yeah.
Western Hills Ranchos. Yeah, so the majority of the sewage goes by gravity.
So with so even if we moved it to this location, would it be safe to say that the majority of our city would still be moving downhill until they get to that hill? No?
You have to pump it all up to the treatment plant, so it got to the treatment plant in order to treat it.
The only confusing part that I'm not understanding here is because when I talked to the plant operator, he literally said there was a pump to pump it up to the treatment plant.
From that side of town.
From
From the north side of the highway.
Yeah. Yeah, so
The
Yucca
original
Valley's a
spot.
valley, right? So the treatment plant is on, the south side of the valley. So the south side of the valley comes to the treatment plant. The north side of the valley goes uphill.
So that's pumped.
Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah,
So it's 50% instead of 100%. And I think the same logic would be for us just to the south. So you could look at maybe like Hanson Track by way of example.
that's
there.
what
That
we're
would
talking.
go
That's what
down-
I'm saying.
Yeah, that would go downhill, right? But the flow goes west to east in that pattern kind of going there. So the majority, and I want to say it's 40% of the flow. Then you even look at more north of the city, which is not part of the phasing map. That would all have to come to that central, that mainline collector, right? And that main line would have to come into the treatment plant uphill.
Yeah.
So
So it's similar.
similar but different because we're not a valley, but yeah.
Thank you.
Well, we're also talking about the downtown area. We've been for years, trying to develop it more, and so it's starting to develop now. And obviously, there's a hotel wanting to go there. There's, if we can ever get restaurants to develop to be open, yeah, and or to expand, the sewer would definitely be beneficial to them. So I don't know. So are you just looking for this agenda item then? Because I'm okay moving it from the location it is to the east, but the cost to put it out there and the continuing cost that's going to go on forever, to me, I think would put it out of the price range. Then that would cost the people in the city even more money than what we're talking about now.
I understand. What I think though is if we're talking about developing our downtown area and bringing in businesses there, then it should pay for it then, right? So if we're going to be bringing in new businesses downtown, that's added sales tax. And so we're going to be increasing our revenue. And so, yes, it's going to be an expensive project, I guess, but see it more as an investment.
So I'm good with us studying everywhere in the city to see where it could go. I mean, I don't.
So that, the old cliche, paralysis by analysis, right? So I think I can get it, I don't know this for sure, but I'm pretty sure I can get an extension from the state because they've, delayed this thing forever. But at some point, we've got to kind of narrow in on some, I got to give them some kind of feedback.
Yeah.
To study the entire city by way of example, I don't know if that has any.
Well, no, I don't mean like that, but I mean like looking at different areas, just like how we looked at Amboy. I mean, looking at a different area in town, where we're not around houses, but still downhill.
Okay, so further to the east,
I don't know.
because that's the topography.
It took me 4 years to pass land nav, so
Okay.
somewhere in the city.
Okay.
I'm in favor of checking out different locations. Go from a mile out and bring it back in a half mile more. See what the cost is going to be.
Yeah.
That's the main thing, is the cost, because if we start using that $51 million to look at all the locations that we have, then that money that we were to have for
Yeah.
hookups is now getting smaller and smaller.
Yes.
And we want to make sure that the residents that can get the free hookups can get the free hookups.
Yes.
Frank, remind me or correct me if I'm wrong. That area that they chose is because of the aquifer that we're replenishing. That table's there, so that's why they want to put it there to put it back in.
So they're, one of their critical, is Matt here? I don't know if Matt is here.
No, he's
No.
So they're eastern, so they have the Mesquite, the Eastern, the 49 Palms, and the Dale, right? And the Eastern is approximately right around like where the inn, that type of, they would like to, their first area to replenish would be the Eastern subbase.
And that's kind of what drove this side of.
Exactly, because it's more centralized, so, yeah.
Yeah, because there's part of town, like the one off Amboy, that's the one they said they did not want the water going there, the wastewater going into that aquifer, right?
To the Dale?
Yeah.
So the Dale, they don't have any extraction wells there. So, it doesn't have the best water quality, so they don't have any extraction wells there. They don't want the water to go there.
Right, so they wanted to go somewhere they can get it back out because obviously, okay.
Yeah.
So that was one of the reasons why this was that part of town. Okay. Thanks for reminding me, Steve. I forgot about that.
Yeah. That's good.
So I'm still trying to figure out how we're going to pay for all this, because I was told that if all 5 phases were completed, the roughly about $60 a month, with only $50 million, we don't even get an entire phase done. We get maybe 1/4 of the phase done. So I really got to see how much the monthly charge is going to be to the residents. That, going back to my earlier statement, I don't even know if this is feasible. So we can sit here and go over the locations, I guess, too, but I just want that on the public record that I don't know how we're going to have monthly charges less than $100, and people are concerned.
And it's, 50 million is light. I mean, a typical plant's $40 million. So once I heard of it, Yucca Valley was getting 86 million, I called the state and was like, I thought the cap was $50 million. And, they're under mandate, so they gave them extra money, but they already have a plant. So there's only collection system, and we got to build a plant and a collection system. So yeah, it's stretched.
So if the plan is 40 million, we have 10 million
We're going to
left.
scale it. So yeah, that's.
We're going to scale it. And how much is the hookups per house? 12,000.
12,000, yeah, on average.
On
So
average.
Plus or minus, yeah.
Okay, well, I think we got to at least study it because we already got money.
Yeah, so study, as far as, being a mile away from density to the east.
Correct.
Yeah. And so how do we hook up downtown then?
Well, it's still part of the project, so that's at phase 1A. If I, So this is phase 1A, and, as mentioned, the sum, probably all, we're gonna have to do some value engineering to see what of that phase 1A really we could connect, right? Because this whole project was $158 million, right? And so, we felt pretty confident when the cap was $75 million that we can get, all of phase 1A and the plant. But now we're down to $50 million, so it's going to be scaled even further, which includes the downtown.
So if we move it a mile east, it would be just, it almost would put us out of the range of half these houses, and we'd have to cut out even more houses, because.
It is a zero sum, right? So you add cost and construction, and.
Yeah, because part of this
Take it
grant
away.
is that the houses get hooked up for free. We can't just take that out. It has to be, because like you said, some houses are going to be 5,000, some are going to be 12,000. So, but with that money can't be drawn back. That has to be spent on the houses we're going to hook up. So.
So can I just make a motion that we go ahead and study the locations from a mile out and bring it in? And if we find one that's suitable, that we feel is suitable, we can just go ahead and take that one. And if anything, if the assumed location is the better of everything, then, we might just have to choose that location. But let's look at different locations to see how much it would cost and how much we would have to spend extra on pumps and all that, if that can be done.
Second. Roll call.
Councilmember Mintz,
Aye.
Councilmember Klink,
Aye.
Councilmember Scott,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Bildering,
Aye.
Mayor Wright.
Aye.
Approved 5-0.
Okay. APN 0621-051-12.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the site of a former mobile home park that the city has had code enforcement issues with in the past. It has ceased to be a mobile home park sometime around 2018 or so. The city never made a formal declaration that says you are now abandoned and any uses you were previously entitled to have been lost, because you have to continually use a permit in order to keep it. So this resolution formalizes the determination that there's no longer a conditional use permit on the property, and that any new permits would have to basically start all over again from the beginning.
Any questions for staff?
Yeah. What's his current zoning on it now?
It is
Commercial.
Yeah, it's commercial. I believe it's service commercial.
Service commercial, okay. Which is not zoned for.
Correct.
Right. I mean, it's service commercial are things like auto fueling stations, hotels, that kind of thing, fast food restaurants. It's definitely not zoned for a mobile home park.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Open up to the public. No green slips. Bring it back. What's the number?
2325.
I make a motion that the city council adopt resolution 2325 and find that the land use entitlement on APN 0621-051-12 are expired and thus null and void.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Scott,
Aye.
Councilmember Klink,
Aye.
Councilmember Mintz,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Bildering,
Aye.
Mayor Wright.
Aye.
Approved 5-0.
Public comment. This is the time for the public to address the city council on issues within the jurisdiction of the city council that are not on this agenda. All comments are to be directed to the city council and shall not consist of any personal attacks. Members of the public are expected to maintain a professional, courteous decorum during their comments. There is a time limitation of 3 minutes per person. If you haven't already done so, please fill out name and address slips and give them to the city clerk. The city council is prohibited by state law from taking action or discussing items not included on the printed agenda. Public comments on specific agenda items will be deferred until consideration of the item on the agenda. Any green slips? Miss Alice Lawson. You have to cover both your topics, Ms. Lawson. You have to cover both your topics in 3 minutes.
Today I'm here again to talk about getting the four-way stop signs put up in the crosswalks. In November, this will be 4 years that this has happened. And if you ever think about, that little girl, if I would have run over her or hit her with my car, I could have killed her, I could have run over her head, anything. She was little. And she asked me where the crosswalks were when I turned around and went back to talk to her. Our streets have become a speedway. And yesterday, my neighbor was backing out of her driveway, and a man on a motorcycle was going so fast you thought he was going to run right into the back of her van. It's constantly speeding up and down. There's children in the streets. There's little kids there. They play basketball in the street. It's just, we need the stop signs and the crosswalks for these children. You know, and I keep asking for them, and I would like to see them happen because I just got told today that there was an incident where the city bus goes right there by El Paseo Apartments. The bus was there and was taking too long, and this man got mad, and he was going about 70 miles an hour past the school. And it was somebody who was working on the roads over there. And then I was told we're not going to get the sidewalks put in until after in December. And we have these kids walking in the streets.
So,
we're here to protect the children.
Miss Alice, we're not ignoring you. We're listening to you, but because of the Brown Act, we're prohibited from actually commenting and discussing it. So that's why it appears that we're not paying attention, but we actually are. We're paying attention.
I hope so, because I even had to tell these little kids to get out of the street the other day because there was a car going fast down the street. They were walking home from school. And I was out there in my yard and telling them to get out of the street. And they look at me and they come by, and I said, "Do you see how fast the car was going?" They go, "Yeah." Because there's no, if you get right there on Sunnyvale and come around like that, or Sun Valley, and there's no stop signs, it's only this way on the hillside. And it's a regular speedway. My daughter's gotten her truck hit by another truck and bent her frame of her truck. A neighbor down the street got the rear end of her car smashed. It was parked in front of her house because somebody was speeding. You know, I'm glad you're listening to me because it's really scary. And there's no reason that can't be a four-way stop when the guys are putting in that stop signs. And they asked me, I went over and asked them if they were putting a four-way stop sign. They said no. And they go, "How old are these signs?" I said, as far as I know, about 22 years old. They weren't rusty or breaking down or nothing. We didn't need them replaced. We need new ones on the other sides. You know what I'm saying, to make them four-way. And another thing I want to talk about is the homeless people. They have money coming in, and we're giving them everything that's free. They're going to buy liquor, their drugs, and whatever, and run the streets, and we're giving them free housing at the hotels.
That's your time.
And I don't think that's right.
Yes, ma'am. That's your
They'll
time.
pay some kind of fee to be living there, because our housekeepers are getting the
That's-
virus from them and having to clean up their germs.
Yes, ma'am. That's your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Spigenberg?
That's right.
All right, I got it right.
City Council, you pretty much answered, on the, wastewater treatment plant and its location. I'm glad it came here because I have a clear view of where it's gonna be. I thought it was gonna be right on 62 and Adobe from other, third-party sources. So I can skip what it's gonna add here, but has there been consideration that in the future, when the population starts growing, maybe when we're all gone, that they're gonna have to maybe expand? Has that been taken in consideration?
Yeah, so we
As far as
can't
expanding?
comment.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, I'll put that seat in your head, so that was my concern. And, okay, that's all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So just to, from a staff perspective, Mr. Mayor, if I may, so our wastewater master plan takes into account the entire city and sewering it. So although it's a phased project, you do it incrementally, there's a master plan of trying to get the entire city, sewered.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Joseph Garner or Carter?
What's funny is everybody makes that mistake. Good evening again, council. It's good to see you again. I was gonna say some mean things about last week's TBID vote, but y'all came through on my sewer vote, which I really appreciate, and I think that was very worth thanking. Thank you. So all I'm going to say is thank you. Now you have 1 year to fix the TBID and save both the baby and the bathwater. This city needs tourism, and we all hope that you'll be able to make the changes that it needs. If not, people won't remember that vote so much as the achievement, but our hopes and dreams go with you because we certainly need tourism, and I believe that you're all going to try your very best to improve the TBID and make it something that works, and I wish you the best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, no more green slips. Bring it back. Future council initiated items. Anyway.
I'd like to make a future agenda item request that the city assess and examine pedestrian safety and street safety around our schools.
Second. Got that one, Frank?
Yep.
Okay. All right, city manager update.
I was working on the wastewater all day that I don't have any updates for today, Mr. Mayor.
All right. This meeting is adjourned.